8th graders. We're here with lesson 5.3 on percents and proportions, and we're also going to cover 5.4 in this lesson, so that's pretty cool. This is one of my favorite lessons to teach. I think it's so much fun. So here we go. To solve word problems, rewrite important information as a question, asking what you are looking for. So when we read through word problems, we're going to try and come up with one of these three questions. And here's the three examples of the types of questions. What number is 75% of 4? 3 is what percent of 4? Or 75% of what number is 3? And those numbers, the percent number, the 4, and the 3 could all be different numbers. But I'm going to show you how to look at word problems, form one of these questions, and then solve it using a proportion and an equation. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to circle the is and the number that the is connected with. We're going to underline the percent, and we're going to draw a box around the of and the number that the of is connected with. And the reason why we're going to do that is because the only way you're going to get these questions wrong is if you misidentify what's the is, what's the of, what's the percent. So let's look at these three examples and do that. So what number is... So I don't know what is, so I'm going to circle all of that because the what number is connected with the is. 75%, we said we're going to underline that, of 4, and I'm going to draw a box around that. Okay, let's try the next one. 3 is what percent, so we don't know that, of 4? 75% of what number, that's what we don't know, is 3. Okay, so now what's so cool, once you've identified those parts, it's going to go into a little proportion or equation. And I want you to take out your foldable. Right now, your foldable looks like this. Hold on. And we need to fold it to be the right way. So what you're going to do first is take this flap. You need this side up with the tips for word problems. And you're going to fold this flap down till the bottom touches there. And then your next step is to fold both of those sides in to kind of make like a door. So your finished foldable will look like this, and we're going to glue it right there on this sheet when we're done. So what's super cool is if you need to memorize this proportion right here. Is over of equals percent over 100. Stop the video and say that 5 times. All right, I hope you did it. Is over of equals percent over 100. You're also going to want to memorize of times percent written as a decimal. That's a really important thing. So you're going to write your percent as a decimal equals is. Of times percent written as a decimal equals is. Now what you need to know is that the is always talking about the part. So write that right on your foldable. The is talking about the part, and the of is talking about the whole. Same thing over here. Your is your part, and your of is your whole. So if I were to take these questions up here and plug it in, when I don't know what it is, it's going to be an X, but I always try to fill in what I do know first. So my 75 is going to go up here where the percent is. 100 always stays 100. And then of 4 is going to go on the bottom right here where it says of. In the equation, I would have 4 times 0.75 equals X because I don't know what my is in this part. Let's try some examples together. So open your foldable. It says, what number, the first question, what number is 75% of 12? So let's use our little trick to identify these parts. what number is, so we don't know what is. I'm going to write an X above it to remind myself of that. 75% of 12. Now I'm going to plug that into my proportion. So remember, it's is, which was X, over of, which was 12, equals percent, which was 75, over 100. Now I can use my calculator and solve this as we've gotten so good at doing. 75 times 12 divided by 100. And my calculator tells me that X equals 9. All right, let's look at how to do that same question over here with an equation. Okay? So I remembered, and if I get stuck, I can flip this back over to remind myself. So of times percent written as a decimal. So my of is 12. So 12 times 0.75 equals X. So that means that I can just do 12 times 0.75 and I get X equals 9. Let's look at the second example. 7 is what percent of 10? So 7 is what percent, that's what I don't know, of 10? Pause the video and try to fill this one out ahead of me and then check your answers to see if you do it right. So 7 is of 10, and I don't know my percent. So now I can solve by doing 7 times 100 divided by 10. 7 times 100 divided by 10. And you probably could have done that in your head, but it means that X equals 70. Let's check it with an equation. Okay, so we have of times our percent written as a decimal. We don't know that, so we're going to do X equals 7. All right, now I want to solve for X. So what do? I want to get X by itself, so I'm going to divide by 10 and divide by 10, which gives me 0.7. And then remember that because this had to be written as a decimal, I'm going to have to multiply times 100 because that's giving me my answer as a percent. So when I multiply 0.7 times 10, I get X equals 70. Okay, let's look at our third example. 75% of what number, so of is our X, is 6. So over here in our proportion, I have 75%, so that's going to go up here. 100 always goes there. Of what number, so we don't know the of, is 6. So is over of equals percent over 100. So now I can multiply 6 times 100 divided by 75, and X equals 8. Over here, if I do of times the percent written as a decimal equals 6, I'm going to divide by 0.75, divide by 0.75, and my answer will be 8. 6 divided by 0.75, X equals 8. So the only thing tricky with the equations is to remember that if it's your percent that is unknown, that you have to remember to multiply times 100 at the end to make sure that you are making it into a percent, because that gave you the answer as a decimal and you have to go to percent. All right, let's look at our an example that is a word problem and see if we can pick out the key information. So, a ski resort has 60% of its trails open. There are 27 trails open. How many does it have altogether? So let's look for those key words, okay? A ski resort has 60% of its trails open. So of its trails, its total amount of trails is the of. There are 27 trails open. Remember, are is a past tense version of is. So we want to know how many does it have altogether. So basically we want to know 27 is 60% of what number? Okay, oh, look at that. I wrote it right here. 27 is 60% of what number? And the reason why I wrote it that way is because I realized that the of is what I don't know. If I think about what they told me and I try to make it make sense into one of those types of questions we talked about, that's the one that works. So now I have 27 is 60% of what number? That's my x. I'm going to plug them in. 27 over x equals 60 over 100. Solve it. X equals 45. Here I show my of times my percent as a decimal equals 75. Divide on both ones by 0.60 and I get x equals 45. Okay. Well, I hope that is helpful for you. This video is a little bit longer, but we did cover 2 lessons. We're going to do lots of practice with it in class. So go ahead and get to work.